Hello and welcome to my show.
Yeah, the return of the
Hello,
bride.
everybody.
Hey,
The return of the Tash.
return of the Tash. Yeah, that's it. That could be your new nickname.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Alt is a bit better than Godfather, really, isn't it? Hey,
Hello,
where's he
Eric.
going?
I can
No,
see
he's
the
back
chat,
again.
whereas you can't, so I'll have to say hello to everyone.
Yes.
But yeah, tonight's topic: crystals. Hey. And Lois is on a sabbatical for a while. Hello, Wayne. Nice to see you.
Howdy.
So, do you want to start us off, Bri, with crystals?
Yes, if you want. Yeah, crystals. I believe crystals are well underused. By a lot of different mediums.
Typical.
And I think the main medium that uses them. Good evening, Annette, and everyone that's joining us.
If it was
Witches.
Bristol's Wayne, Bri would know a lot about them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boobish. We like boobish. Yeah, I think witches mainly use crystals, don't they? More than any other genre. But they are used. They're used quite a lot in alchemy. We use them. I use them quite a lot, actually. But just basics. I don't think a lot of people realise their application and what they can use crystals for. Most people use them for healing, but I use them in application when I'm doing investigations because they drop into categories. I find that you've got all your elements there. You've got your air. Evening. Welcome from Pakistan to Pakistan. You've got all your elements in there: your air, earth, fire, and water, and loads of different crystals drop into each category. So if you've got that knowledge, then you can utilize them. I'll give you a few examples as we go along. What do you use them at all, Ian?
Yeah, I've actually got them in my pocket now. I tend to keep. Well, there's three particular ones that I carry on me at all time for investigating, and that's Apache Tear, Black Tourmaline, and Shungite, because all three of them together are very good resistance at negative. So if I
Yeah.
happen to come across something really bad at a property, then at least I've covered my base slightly. So hello, Rita.
Good evening. Yeah, similar. I mean, give some examples anyway. Amethyst for peace, aventurine for luck, lapis lazuli for communication, tiger's eye for courage, rose quartz for love, clear quartz for amplification. Now, this is and there is, I'll mention another one, labradorite for psychic abilities, to name a few. But you can mix and match pretty much like a fashion accessory, I suppose, because
Yeah.
to use them in conjunction, and quartz, for example, quartz it's got a big family of crystals to it, because rose quartz, obviously, I love. Clear quartz amplification, as we know, I mean, that's common sense because it's used in radios and watches and all damn sorts as an amplifier. But there's other quartz as well. There's cloudy quartz, and that has slightly different properties. So knowing that, and I think a lot of people get them wrong. They actually categorize them wrongly.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. It's a big field. There's a hell of a lot of crystals to go through, really, when you think about it. So who else would use the same sort of collection? Like you've mentioned your collection. My collection for that, for what you use them for, is, let me find it. Right, to get rid of negative energy and to calm a place down, I'd use rose quartz, lapis lazuli, and labradorite, amethyst, while communicating. It binds a spirit and it causes them to calm down or leave. Now, people get this mixed up as it's a banishment. No, it's not. You cannot really get rid of a spirit unless they want to go. You can help them to move on, but you can't move them on yourself.
No.
But you can change their mood. You can bind them to that to such an extent. When I say it makes them leave or calm down, it literally does. It's like, I can explain it. Like farting in a box and putting somebody in that box. You don't want to be in there, do you? You're going to go. You're going to wait. You're going to wait while it calms down a bit and then come back.
That sounded like a Wade Seaton euphemism, that did.
What's up, guys?
Hello. Blimey, Nick.
How you guys doing?
Have you got someone there serving you grapes?
No, I had to switch. I had to switch spots from my usual area from the studio. I'm down in the basement, and actually, what I'm seeing right now, you guys are on a projector. I have the laptop connected to an HDMI cable, so I kind of got the comfy spot for today.
How did you get a projector screen in the basement? How did Lois allow that?
She's gave him all my space. That's what it is. Good evening.
I can't really say it's actually quite a secret. only Lois would know.
Well, yeah, that's about right. I've missed much, and not. So, what's your take on crystals, Nick? I've mentioned a few little bits and bats.
See, I haven't really experimented too much with crystals, but I do have a couple of them that I just recently got about a year ago. So I'm still kind of starting off with them, but the only thing that I've ever really done as far as like actually using crystals is I have a separate crystal that I use for spiritual communication along with a pendulum. So once again, it's of course they're examples of the old-fashioned paranormal tools.
Yeah, what crystal is it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't remember what the crystal was because I've had it for a number of years. So I just knew that it's actually one of the oldest pieces of equipment, believe it or not, I have, because I've had this actually since high school. And I remember that I got it from Amazon. I think I was given it was given to me as a Christmas present. So yeah, that's the other thing too, is that I never really was able to really find out exactly what name is or what type it is. So
yeah. See again, different applications. Pendulums, I really strongly believe that pendulum-wise, the best is clear quartz or lead crystal. Energy again.
I only use clear quartz, and I seem to get a better response from that than any other.
Yes, yeah. It's because of what it is. It's that element. It's amplification at the end of the day. You add that to a chain, you've got a little mini lightning rod, ain't you, in a way? So it's fantastic for out like that. But there is other crystals that you can use for certain types of scrying. If you're using a map, for example, you don't really need that energy from a clear crystal, a clear quartz. You could use cloudy quartz because it's more what's the word? Environmental. And then when you're using a map in conjunction with a piece of what do they call it? Peridot. A little piece of peridot on each corner of your map, and then use your cloudy quartz, and you can scry for certain areas, certain energies, without being in the field, shall we say, with your rods and your clear quartz. You can do it from home type of thing. It's a home method.
Yeah.
And you can actually find a lot of ley lines using that method if you're tuned in. But again, it's this conjunction. A lot of people will try it, think they've heard this, they've heard about people doing something with crystals, and they only hear so much, so they make it up as they go along. So, for example, as I've mentioned, putting a little piece of peridot in each corner at map, they wouldn't necessarily do that. They'd either leave it out or use the wrong crystal, so they don't get the same results. And you've got to be precise. It's just like any other thing when you're making like a salve, for example, or a balm to soothe your skin. If you don't use aloe as a base, what's the point?
Yeah.
Type of thing, you know. Well, it's the same with crystals. I believe so. Anyway, it's the same with crystals. You've got to use the right crystal for the job.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going through the chat. Wayne says Ellen keeps her crystals by her bristles. She's not the only one in the paranormal I know that does.
Wayne said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They a lot of women put them in the side of their bra so it's touching the skin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was looking for that. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very common, funnily enough.
It's usually
why there's a chat up where you can ask them to show them your crystals.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's usually rose quartz or cloudy quartz as well that they put there.
Eric said, how do you choose which ones to use? I think for a pendulum, I think you have to be drawn to it, don't you?
I thought that's what it was. I honestly thought the same thing because that was the case with the pendulum that I have.
Yeah.
Not long after I received it, I immediately, got drawn to it.
Yeah, pendulum chooses you just like tarot cards.
Yeah, so, it really does. It really does.
Yeah, so I've always used clear. That's the one that was drawn to me at the beginning. So I've always used clear quartz ever since.
Yeah, and mine disappeared. Mine disappeared, and I haven't replaced it, and I won't replace it because if it does turn up, but I didn't. I had two, and they both disappeared. One actually, it was a rose quartz, and it had two parts to it, and it snapped. And I reattached it. I got a Dremel, and I reattached it to the biggest piece. And then within a couple of weeks, that disappeared totally. Same as me clear quartz, conical one. Just I don't know where they've gone. I honestly don't know where they've gone. They could have got misplaced when I moved because when I moved into this place, there were a few boxes that my wonderful sisters decided to, get rid of. They said I was hoarding too much. I don't know who gave them the right to do that, but they did.
I think the other side as well, to choose a crystal, it all depends on what you actually want it for, isn't it? And then I think if you look up what crystals are for that specific thing, then again, it's which one you think you're drawn to.
Right.
Because obviously there's something in that, isn't there?
To some extent, that can work. Like I said, yeah, definitely. When it comes to choosing them, but it's down to application and what that crystal vibrationally and frequency-wise can give you for that application, and that's the art to it. That's the biggest art going, because that literally as well can go down to the size and shape of a crystal, not necessarily what it is, because you get a small square piece. Just for example, say it's 2 inch deep and an inch thick type of thing, and it's square. But that quartz will do a certain job because it's tuned into that certain frequency because of its size.
Yeah.
People think, they get all these different handful of pebbles, all these different crystals and that, and they're all the same, and they're not. They're just not. No. The chemistry of them different every single time. And unless you can tune into that, what I do, I've got a sensitivity to them, so I place them in palm of my hand one by one. And it's weird. It is a sensitivity to them. It's like a tingle in palm of your hand, and you know instinctively. There is no other calibration really. You can either use them or you can't.
Yeah.
Witches have got that instinct with them as well. They know the size, shape, and everything. And this is why in some films and what's the word? Dramatizations, when they show you these people, they are a certain shape and a certain size. So it shows that there's got to be some significance to that if it's coming across in film, as it usually does.
Along those lines, Annette has said, I was told not to wear my black tourmaline necklace at night. Any reason why to that?
Well, tourmaline, and again, there's different types. And that does depend on shape and everything. I mean, I've seen witches use tourmaline in the shape of a little star, like a pentagram. And that does have a hell of a lot of power, but it's a certain size. It's a certain... whatever you bought, tourmaline again, black tourmaline at night, if you follow that general connotation, nighttime is generally thought as using stones for darker arts. Well, black tourmaline is used in darker arts, especially when you consider that you'll find a lot of these pieces turned into pentagrams or stars or certain shapes. Certain crystals more than others. But these are your purists. These are the people that know what they're doing with them. Most people have got a handful of crystals that they keep in a drawer or in the pocket or whatever. Me included. But I do work on certain frequency, sizes, matter with certain crystals. Tiger's Eye, for example, you really need a standard pebble size, size of a lighter, for example. Maybe not quite as long, but 2/3, like that much. And that vibrationally tends to really work. And you can feel it in your pocket when you're working with it. I'm sure you've sensed that, you've felt that, like you've got one of them little, I don't want to say this, but I've got to, because I've got no other way of explaining it.
Yeah.
You know, these little mini vibrators.
I'll tell you a simpler way to explain it, because I've had the same thing, and it's almost like your phone going off in your pocket.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
That's what I get, and I sometimes think, well, my phone's in my hand.
Yes, that vibration. Well, exactly. But that just shows, doesn't it, really, how well they do work when they're used in a correct manner. Really.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, black tourmaline is usually said, don't use it at night unless you are doing dark arts, basically.
Yeah, that does make sense now you've said it.
Yep.
Yeah. We got any more?
We got any more questions? Ooh.
Well, it does say that everything is a vibration; it moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all comes back to our first ever show, Ian, which was frequencies.
Yeah.
Everything works on a frequency. It's just tuning it down, and stones and crystals are perfect for that. I.e., like I've said, with the size and shape and quality of that vibration, there's loads of applications for them, and people don't use them half as much as they should, I believe.
Yeah.
And it proves that it works. The fact that we have quartz in lots of different types of equipment. And
I mean, someone has said to me before in the past, oh, crystals don't work. And I say, have you got a phone in your pocket? They go, yeah. I say, well, most of what's in that, all the electronics are made from crystals.
Yeah.
So how does your phone work then if crystals don't?
Well, again, when I was a kid, we used to make crystal sets in a jam jar.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got copper elements and a coil, and you needed a quartz crystal for that. for your frequency.
Yeah.
People don't use this technology anymore, and it's actually fascinating. It's good.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Can you
Eric is saying, how do you choose what you need? Because a spirit keeps nicking his.
Yeah. Well, it's the fact we do.
Well, I would say, Eric, either that spirit knows you don't need that one, or, or it likes it.
In a way, he's answered his own question, because what crystals is it that they're nicking? Because that will tell him that's the frequency they're after. They want to communicate through that frequency. So what crystal and what size crystal is it that they're pinching?
Yeah, well, get a really big version of it so they can't carry it off.
Yeah,
and bolt it to the floor.
I've found protection to that, to put them in a glass case. You know, a bit like shipping a bottle type thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
It stops them being nicked. But they do move, and they can actually glow in dark. Yeah, they can actually glow in dark. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And that says hers always go missing. Well,
they will do, and it shows that's a sign of the frequency and the crystal that they're wanting to communicate through. Because, as we've said, spirit isn't one frequency. If we could narrow it down, if we could bottle that frequency, we'd be able to communicate every day. But we just can't, because everybody works on a different frequency. In life, we have to work. We're in a window because we're carbon based. When we lose that carbon form, it can be anywhere. We float into ether, and we could be high frequency, low frequency, depends on your demeanor. When it comes down to that, that's how it translates. And crystals, again, help us to communicate, and they dictate, spirit dictate what they want to be communicated through, which is a good guide. But again, not a lot of people use it. They don't realize that. So it's not used half as much as it should be. I personally do use that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the first real proof more than just the spiritual proof, the first physical proof I ever had of crystals was I bought a load of crystals for my granddaughter, and the woman I bought them off, she said to him, she goes, I've also sent you one. She said, for some unknown reason, I felt you needed this. And I thought, okay. So anyway, she sent it, and it was funny because I had my knee had been playing up, and the factory I used to work in used to be on 5 floors. And every time I used to walk up the stairs, my knee used to give in. So she sent me this crystal. Anyway, I didn't think nothing. I put it in my pocket, and the problem with my knee ceased to exist.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and it was calcite. And when I looked it up, it was for your joints. Yeah. And I thought, one, how did she know? And two, it worked almost immediately, putting it in my pocket. So
again, it's self-explanatory. Calcite, calcium, what's in milk. So in conjunction, you can use a remedy for which would be they would give you calcite, but they'd also crush calcium deposits and give you it in a salve. Tell you to drink milk, full fat milk, and so on and so on. So these remedies would actually work.
That was about 8 years ago, and I've not had a problem with my knee since.
Exactly. It just shows that there's more value to things, to crystals, than people give credit for. It's just the fact that they use the wrong combination. So they don't get the results, and then it gets discredited.
Yeah.
It's like a regional thing, isn't it? Say again, Nick, sorry?
No, I was just laughing.
All right. It can become a regional thing, and this is why it dies out a lot of the time, because crystals back in the day when they were used more than anything were regional. I mean, you know, like you just mentioned, calcite. South Coast, it's abundant, but you wouldn't get it in North Coast or Scotland. So they'd try to use something different, something that looked like it, but didn't have the same properties, with negative results. So up and down country, you'd have mixed feelings about it. Oh, that's balm, that's rubbish.
Exactly.
It needs people to literally, and we could do it this day and age with computers and communication that we've got. I mean, we're all talking. You're right at bottom of country, I'm mid country, Nick's in America, and we're just having this conversation about crystals. Imagine what we could do if we got our heads together and said, look, this works. Try it.
Yeah.
And did these experiments worldwide. We could formulate then certain methods and crystals, size, shape, composition, and make them work.
Yeah.
What's the word? Consistently. Instead of it being hit and miss. There is groups just like everything else. I mean, look at witches, for example. They'd all but died out at turn of century. Proper what we would class as healers, healing witches, Wiccans and the like. And then it's only modern times the way meddlers. I put them down as meddlers. People that just like the sound of being a witch. So they buy these trinkets, offer a market, and the mass made, and they've got the little altars, and everybody's got the same thing on the little altars. And what do? Nothing. It's just a term to be called a witch. I know a few. Now, there is some practicing ones, and that's the term, a practicing witch. And then there's play acting. And it's a shame. Again, it needs to be regulated. There should be something that says, well, I am a witch. I am a wizard. I am this, I am that. They're all different genres, but they're all lumped like paranormal under one umbrella.
Yeah.
There should be something to separate these categories, and there just isn't. It's a shame, because this is where we get a lot of fakery.
Oh yeah, we get that a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is with witches, all the good they were doing people back in the old days, and they got burnt for it.
Yeah, exactly. Weirdly enough, I was watching a bit of it was a stream other day, and it showed you this ducking stool outside a pond that's fed with this river, and it was actually used, and it's still there. It's like on a pivot. It's like a seesaw. So they put them in this little chair. They're not strapped in at all as such, because once it's swiveled round over this pond, you can drop them in it. You can drop them in this pond, and they're going to hang on to stool because it's quite a deep little pond. So imagine getting dunked with that 2 or 3 times a minute,
Yeah.
But yeah, the bit of a travesty, really, that, weren't it? I mean, if you float, you're a witch. If you go under and drown, you win. What's all that about? You're going to get done for, aren't you? No matter what.
Annette makes a good point. She put, new witches forget to study their history. It's 90% of the art, which is true.
Yes.
It is. Oh, hello, Lorna.
Hello.
Evening.
What's up, Scott?
Very true. And it's not just with true witches. All their learning curve is all handed down, isn't it? So unless you research that, you're going to learn.
Yeah, a lot of it's dictated, and again, unfortunately, it's like, how can I put this? Just as an example, I'm quite popular on my page, going and filming churches, for example.
Yeah.
So if I decided, because I've got such a good following for that, oh, right, because everybody's following me, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to publish it, and what I say goes. And it becomes a Bible in its own way. And I know naff all about the history and everything about to do with churches, but I do a nice little video so people follow it. Now, just because of that, if my book sells, it becomes a narrative, and everybody follows that narrative. It doesn't mean to say it's right, and that's the problem. There's lots of literature out there that's classed as manuals. Come and get my witch manual. Okay. Yeah. So what factors are in that book, in that manual? Probably none. Because it's just something that somebody's decided to write. There should be regulations, there should be, just like holistic therapy has been it's been, what's the word, monitored and regulated. They've started regulating a lot of holistic therapies now for that very reason. Because, for example, if I stuck 2 or 3 oils together and said, stick it on your cancerous leg, it'll cure you, and it actually makes it worse, that's bad practice, and it's malpractice.
Yeah.
So it has to be regulated. But the thing is, I know what people are going to say, where do you stop or where do you start with it? But something other than nothing is got to be better. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you can't buy that manual and call yourself a witch. If you're following things like, that they're putting in book, or rub some wax and some honey into the ground and you'll get pregnant. What a load of crap. It's going to be regulated, isn't it?
You would think it would have to be on yourself, not on the ground. But
These are the things that come into these manuals that are just fiction, pure fiction. And people are following them. These poor little ladies that got no better to do. So they spent thousands of pounds on these little trinkets for the altar. And then they're buying all these herbs in, which, as with the crystals, they are not the correct. A perfect example of that is when you are wanting to go into the dream world.
Yeah.
I
usually shut my eyes.
Which sage would you use? This is a perfect example.
Which what?
Sage would you use for smudging?
I use white.
No, this is a perfect example. It's not white. It's wild American sage, and there's only the wild sage that works. White sage is used for the complete opposite. It's used to calm a situation. It's used to smudge, to get rid of negativity.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to open up, are you, with white sage and go into a trance and dream state using that. It's got to be wild sage, which has got different properties.
Yeah.
And it's same with crystals, like I said. Different crystals for different uses. What's we got here? I can't see what it said.
Which one are you reading?
The Lords.
Oh, mixing herbs without knowing a thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly. This is what I'm saying. But there's a lot of people doing it. A hell of a lot of people that call themselves witches, and they don't know what they're doing. They've no idea of what them properties to the herbs have got, and what psychotropic values they have. As in, like I said, with wild sage, it's different properties to white sage.
So, they don't know a thing about herbs and what damage they do if it's done wrong.
Yeah.
Well, again, common sense side of it, to look at something in that element. Look at seps, mushrooms, fungi. The difference is immense. You can have 2 mushrooms that look very, very similar, but the psychotropics from one to the next, totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. One could kill you, and the other one's just going to make you high. Simple as that. But they look the same. How much of that's going off?
Yeah. Very true.
I mean, how bad? I mean, and it makes you, and especially not knowing how to do it correctly. I mean, that's definitely that's almost like suicide for that person. Then, if they're not sure exactly what they're doing, then.
Correct. And this is what I mentioned about with crystals. It's the size and shape of them that gives the frequency. Well, exactly the same thing with your herbs and everything. It's the amount. Like you can rub the top of a, I can't remember the name of them because they're such a big field. And there's only certain ones that I'll touch with mushrooms. But it's the one with red and white top, white spots and red top. You can actually touch that, rub it with your finger and rub it on your gum, and you will be okay. It'll make you seriously hallucinate, but it won't kill you. But if you eat it or try to eat it or stick it on the back of your tongue, which is very close, can kill you. It's crazy. It's crazy.
No doubt about it.
So it's the amount again as well. It's the size, the amount, the actual properties. Like I was saying, you could have a mushroom, the same species. Truffles, for example.
Yeah.
The finest truffles in the world come from the forest in France. It's exactly the same species as we get in Essex and Epping Forest and one or two other places. But because it's grown with different nutrients feeding it, it gives it a different flavour. It's the same species. So something as simple as that. And so why shouldn't it be the same for, when it is, if you look at gold from Africa and gold from Australia and gold from Wales, all the same stuff,
Yeah,
but the purest comes from Australia. Believe it or not, it's just pure.
Just to think we sent the criminals over there.
Yeah, exactly. I've got family there.
Yeah. What favour we did there, mate? Great weather and gold.
I'm going to ask for my money back. But yeah, it's a fascinating subject. Herbalism and well, I've done little bits. Like I've said, I wouldn't class myself as a witch, but I think I could put a lot of witches to shame with the knowledge that I've got with herbalism and doing salves and hedgerow stuff. It's amazing what you can find in a hedgerow. I divulge, but for example, before we got potatoes from South America, we used to use other staples for a starch and as carbohydrate. And one of them, believe it or not, is hawthorn. And this is why when you found, I can't remember which king it were, but I think it was Henry VIII, actually, when he divided fields up into smaller plots to give a way of gaining tax from the common man, he gave a little plot so that they could feed themselves and this, that, and other and make more money to give back to him. Clever man. But to divide these fields up, rather than building brick walls, they made the most of everything. So your field was divided by hawthorn. One, because it's got spines on it, so it stopped other people getting into your plot. But also, they're edible. The berries are edible. You can make what they call hawthorn leather. And it's like licorice. And it keeps for years. And it's so natural. It's labor intensive getting it, but because you've got to pulverize the damn thing and lay it out on grease-proof paper. But it lasts for years. And you just cut it into strips, and it's actually quite nice. I've made it. There's loads of stuff that you can use that you can utilize in a hedge. You'd be surprised. I mean, everybody knows these days about nettles and dandelions, but there's a hell of a lot of things that grow at the side of them that they don't know. it's I could spend an evening doing a show on that, on actual just edible plants.
We can do a show on that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, really is. There's loads in your garden. You'd be surprised what you can eat in your garden. But do it? No, we'd rather spend a load of money going to a supermarket for what's growing in your garden. For blackberries and raspberries and apples. How many people do you know? There's probably somebody, at least no more than 2 doors away, that's got all these things in the garden. Crystals thing, I don't know. So, yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
It does take years
to learn herbs and how to use them to ingest.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And again, I went into it and I delved into it more so. I were already doing a little bit on herbs and hedgerow plants, but I went into it more when I practiced and learned massage therapy and became a can't remember the term for it now, what she used, but she gave me a term. She did for everything, did Kate. And she taught me a lot of plants that you could use in massage therapy, which was safe, and others to avoid. And it all comes down to treatment again. What is your problem? You know, if you've got a bad stomach, what's the best thing for that? Well, obviously, it's something that soothes like mint, which you can grow. I've got it growing in my garden. I've got apple mint in mine. It's beautiful. What's this? What's she saying? Dandelion tea, dandelion could increase the risk of complications. Yeah.
Someone has kidney disease?
No, I'm not aware of that one, to be fair. But again, I get a perfect example. I mean, we take a lot of stuff in everyday medicine. We've got a lot of things that they came from nature originally. What's one of the most common? Does anybody know which painkiller? It's used worldwide. We've synthesized it and we use the main ingredient from it. It's all synthesized though. The original ingredient, shall we say, it's got all the soothing agents. You don't get half the side effects from it if you use it in its natural form. Anybody know?
Not entirely sure myself.
Comes from your neck of woods, Nick.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's put him on the spot, isn't it? Go and look in your garden.
Yeah, the garden's just right in front, so I can just look in the garden next time I'm out there.
They say it actually comes from a tree, and it's willow bark, believe it or not, a certain type of willow.
Yeah,
it's related to crack willow, because there is a lot of different types, isn't there? But it comes from willow bark, and it's aspirin. Aspirin derives from willow bark.
Robert got that right. Yeah, I was trying to think whether it was aspirin or not, but
yeah. But because we've synthesized it and taken, you know, when you do one of these spectrographs and you see these spikes on a graph, they've taken that main ingredient, that active ingredient, and stuck it in a pill form, and it works. Don't get me wrong, but it's got none of the soothing agents that go with it in a natural form. So it's harsh to your system. It can cause scarring a tissue internally and one thing or another. Whereas if you use willow bark and steep it and use the liquid as it's supposed to have been used, cures your headache, but there's no side effects. And we're only just starting to realize things like that. There's a lot of chemicals that we use that come from nature, and we've just synthesized main ingredient. We shouldn't. We should use natural form. Chinese still do more than any other culture.
It just goes to show, if you ever see anybody licking a tree, they're not mad, they're just in pain.
Well, the question is, how do we not know that they could be in pain just by looking the sharp bark off a tree?
It was your North American Indians that actually used it, and we nicked it off them. We nicked and synthesized it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. if for every disease there is a cure on the planet. And,
Of course it is. And I fully believe they're holding things back.
Oh,
because
yeah, we know they are.
There's lots and lots of diseases. They want to give us some sort of hope that, you know, we feel better by using this chemical, but it doesn't cure it. They don't want it curing.
If they let us know what the natural cures were, the pharmaceutical companies would make a penny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what it's all down to. That's what it all comes down to. So yeah, we're going off on a tangent, aren't we? Like we normally do.
Oh,
but yeah,
happens.
going back to what Annette said, dandelion and burdock. Dandelion and burdock, popular pop.
Being a Scot, being a Scot, not the English that Lois keeps calling me. I grew up with dandelion and burdock.
Exactly. But I mean, burdock. Does anybody know how many people would actually know what they were looking at if they saw it in a hedgerow?
I wouldn't, to be honest.
You would actually. You would. When I tell you, you will. But you don't at the moment.
No.
You'd be surprised at this. And burdock, there's also another invention came from burdock. It's not just a staple for Nepalese people. You're eating the root. It became a pop for us, but there was also an invention made from copying it, and which is Velcro. Because burr means hooked, like a crochet needle. And burr is the seed pod from dock. So if you see sticky buds now, you'll never see them the same way, because that's what burdock is.
Ah, yeah. I'm regularly bringing it home on my trousers then.
Yeah. And there's another plant as well that's actually quite good for you. It's really good at aligning your system, and that's they call it goosegrass. The really tiny sticky buds. Yeah, goosegrass. The whole plant literally sticks to you, and that's how they transfer the seeds, because it sticks to you, and the actual little tiny seed pods drop off you.
Almost sounds more like goose shit, if you ask me.
Well,
it's not goosegrass here.
You'd be consuming the wrong thing then, Nick.
Yeah, it's not related to foie gras.
While we might see people licking trees, we might see Nick licking a goose backside. But there you go.
You got to remember, you need that wizard. Yeah, you're surprised. There's a lot of plants that's in hedgerow that people just don't realise. They're still surviving. They was put in there and they still survive there. They still live there. But they were put there originally for a use. And as I say, when you border a property, you've seen this margin that most fields have.
Yeah.
Well, that originally was the place where you had all your wildflowers and everything else for your herbs and spices. Yeah. Your main crop was in middle, herbs and spices round edge, and then your hedge itself had different properties. You could make, you could pollard it, so you've got sticks and wood for your fire or for your buildings. You got the fruit or nuts or whatever, like hazel coppices. Everything had a use back in there. It's just a throwaway society today because it's all synthesized, isn't it? So, but I went into that when I was doing holistic therapies and relearned a lot of stuff that's in your hedgerow. Jack of the hedge, very dangerous plant. It's called the arum lily. It's got lovely looking red berries, but it's poisonous. But it also, its biggest use, and it was grown commercially for a short spell, turn its century, it's glue. They used to make glue from it. And it's a very good, long-lasting, weatherproof glue. A lot of furniture used to be stuck with it, just like the animal glue.
Oh, but
That's why you said, yeah.
are we talking like Gorilla Glue, for example?
Oh, dear.
I wasn't going to mention it.
I'm sure Nick's getting paid for advertising Gorilla Glue.
I actually got some Gorilla Tape as well to do a tape. No.
Yeah, I've got some at work.
Yeah.
It's
like
kale.
Yeah.
Kale, yeah, kale. Yeah, we have this sea kale grows all over, right, all the way around our country. It's not used. Sea kale were a staple, and it still is on some islands, but it's not. And highlands, yeah, they still eat kale in highlands. There's another shrub in the highlands. It came down. It's come down country. It's all over the place now, and it's got the highest vitamin C content of any known plants. There may be others, but it's that high. It literally tastes bitter just to touch it on your tongue. They use it. It has got an application. They do use it, and that's oh my God, sea buckthorn. It's a bright orange berry, and it goes in rows, and you need a comb to collect it because its spines are that fierce that they're about year long. And your berries are lodged in between these spines. So somebody came out with it looks a bit like an afro comb to get these berries off at stems. Yeah, sea buckthorn. It's potent. I'll tell you now. You get high on it because of vitamin C content on it. It's that bitter. It's actually not good. You've got to dilute it. See, I'm a fountain of useless information.
Well, that's it. We're all full of useless information.
So, anybody got any questions? Are we going back to crystals or are we done?
Guys, I'll be back in just a quick second. So, I'm actually trying to think of some questions right now. I'll be back. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. Robert said, look at COVID cure within a year. Well, they didn't actually make a cure, did they? They've just made something that weakens the symptoms, basically.
No, I don't think it does. I think it was all... Well, don't get me started on that one. It total con for me. Total con. And it's proved it because these people that's still wearing masks and still going out and getting God knows how many vaccines, how many jabs, and they're still catching the damn thing. The people that have not had the jabs are fine.
As I've said, I had the first 2 jabs, and then I caught COVID, and I thought, well, I don't need any more jabs now because I've actually had it. So, so basically, my immune system has actually had to deal with it once. So
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I caught it early doors, and it kicked shit out of me for 3 weeks.
Right,
really odd. It like you got a symptom, then next day it went away, and you thought, oh, well, no. Then next day it comes back with an added symptom. Then next day it seems to die down again, and so on. It just wears you down. But I've resisted. I didn't have a job because I'd seen all this literature, and I've been fine ever since. Yeah. And I am at risk of a heart attack. I'm diabetic, and I'm fine. Yeah. So again, it proves to me, because I know loads of people that said all the jabs and they religiously have them. I'll have to have my booster, and they're badly. They are really poorly.
Yeah.
So I ain't touching it, and I'll keep getting letters and texts off at doctor. You are eligible for a flu jab, and for you, I said, sod off. No,
I've actually gone against having a flu jab because I've known people that have had the flu jab and then had the flu worse than anybody else.
Yeah, because it is
I'll have the flu, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take my chances. I'm not bothered.
No.
Because what do want? But no, and I think again a lot of it is because I do self-prescribe and I do have supplements, but they're not bought supplements. They're from the garden. You know what I mean? They're natural ingredients that I know the composite of, like in crystals. I know what they're made of. I know what properties they've got. It's surprising how big a variation there is. For example, all your brassicas, all of them, Brussels, gollies, the lot, cabbages. What you'd be surprised at this one, really surprised. What is the original plant that they were all bred from? It gobsmacked me, to be honest, but it just shows what you can do by selective breeding type thing.
Cauliflowers, broccoli.
And they are edible. Even the originals are edible today, but there's a particular type that they use more than others.
Don't know, you've got me there. I can't think what the original is.
Daisies.
What? Daisies?
Daisies. Everything was bred from daisies. There's one, it's called Bellis, and it's a nice little daisy flower, different colours, and the tops, the daisy tops are still eaten. Again, originally, no, not all the part of the daisy could be eaten, but the flower and petals can, even today. It's gobsmacking, really, when you work out all these different genus. What's that? Coronavirus is constantly changing. Yeah. Well, of course it is, because it's not natural.
It's not natural.
It's man-made.
It's not natural, and it's always going to change regardless.
Well, if you want to cure coronavirus, go and lick a bat.
Not about ass, Nick. Not a bit bat's ass.
I don't think I'd want to ask.
Guano, Nick. Guano. Go and ask for some guano. Annette says, give up multivitamins and eat dried seaweed. It contains everything you need. Yeah, that's very true.
Got a lot of it in, yeah, definitely. Yeah. What do the Welsh call it? They make a bread from it, don't they?
Yes.
Lava bread. Lava bread,
yeah.
From seaweed.
I quite like the old dried seaweed when I go into Chinese. That's quite nice.
Again,
every time I eat it.
Crispy seaweed. I've actually seen a Chinese man collecting that off at beach. Because you can eat it. It's not the same species as what it's intended again.
Yeah.
The seaweed that the savers over here is not the original seaweed that you find over there.
I hope it's not off a Welsh beach, considering that they've just said about the sewage plants dumping all the waste in the sea around the coast of Wales.
It is the same. It is the same. You know, I just thought of this one. Just Eric just said, "Don't go around licking your animals' backsides." Can you imagine? You know,
we should add that as a health warning, shouldn't we?
Well, you know what? The one animal you definitely do not want to do that to.
Yeah, please don't do this at home. Don't go around licking animals'
Well,
backside.
even worse, the one you don't want to do that to is porcupine.
What's the worst one? What's the worst one that you don't go licking? Don't go licking a cane toad.
Don't go licking. They should have like a do not as like a tug on it, like as if to say do not lick.
What's that one? You can't see the beginning of that one. What's he saying? What's Robert? Oh, plants and human DNA. Well, no disrespect to the Indians, but they have more genetic problems and genetic conditions, and I don't know how some of them are actually living. Did you ever watch that Bizarre Bodies series? And a lot of them were Indian people, and there were one that this bloke was half plant, half human. Literally, he got spines growing out in his arms, and when they did DNA on it, it was plant-based. They didn't know how we were living, but it were. There's loads of complaints that people have For some reason, it affects more Indians in the world. Don't know why that is. I'm not going to comment. But it's a fact. It is an absolute fact.
It does make you wonder why, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does. But yeah, it was a series on TV.
I mean, a simple answer would be is nature fighting back because they're pretty overpopulated over there, aren't they?
Well, yeah, possibly. I don't know what the reason were, but there were loads of different. There were the lad that they called him the werewolf because he was literally 99% hair, long,
I've seen
black,
pictures of him.
Yeah, and they were even on soles of his feet. Again, genetics. It's a weird thing, isn't it?
Nice. I actually have something I'd like to present quickly.
Go on, then.
It's
the stage is yours, Nick.
Wait, what?
The stage is yours.
You sure about that?
We don't want pictures of you licking animals, all right?
I'll introduce you. Nick Mulay presents. Go for it.
I'm trying to get it up. I thought I'd have it ready real quick. Okay, give me an extra minute. I'll have this ready.
Yeah, formats, like I said, but going back to actually now we've done with crystals. I think there's not a lot you can say because people dabble too much. I think with crystals rather than actually using them for the real purpose that they were intended for. Frequency wise, as I say, general rule of thumb: if you use your elements, air, earth, fire, water, they do follow in composition. For example, what would you say quartz was? Clear quartz.
You know what? I've never looked up their elements.
Well, it borders two, it straddles two, which is earth and fire, because it derives from igneous. And if you look at the elements, it actually helps you to categorize them. So quartz is it's a fire element, bordering on the earth element. And there's loads. I mean, aquamarine stands for its own sort of thing. Opal, it's all liquid based, so that's water. There's loads and loads. But if you follow that rule of thumb when you're using them for healing, instead of wrongly, because like you said, quartz would be in our application used for its frequency and its what's the word, amplification. So we use it for different applications, amplification being one. But in its raw state, it's a fire element, so you can use it for healing. You can place it on your back when you're aligning chakras and things like that. You place it in small of your back, a decent sized piece of clear quartz, and you'd be amazed what benefits you get from it. And you can actually feel the heat.
Yeah, I have done on mine. Now, this is a question for you. You saying that clear quartz is an earth stroke fire element. But the fact that I'm Taurian and I'm also an earth sign, would that explain why I get so good communication out of a clear quartz crystal? Again,
yes. Alignment's a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm a Taurus, so yes. And I use so that tells you something in itself, doesn't it? Again, if you use general rule of thumb, you can find a lot of things out.
Guys, real quick, here's what I was gonna present. Here, check this out.
Go on. Okay.
I had to Google search that, and that's what I came across.
Yeah, that's Kiss.
No, that's Rolling Stones.
Oh yes, the Rolling Stones, isn't it? Yeah. How did I get that?
It's still showing a mouth licking.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, I had to show that. I had to show that quickly. Sorry, Brian. Go on.
Yeah, you could catch Mick Jagger licking a lot of stuff over the years, so it's quite acceptable.
Including Twiggy.
I like Annette's comment. She's saying, you spend so much time in the woods, Nick, we should call you Tarzan.
Spend so much time in the woods. What?
Yes, I think you've got something going off down them woods.
I think that's Lois's fault, Nick.
I don't know. I have no idea what that's talking about, honestly. So I'm
We'll
just
be,
going to move
we'll
forward.
be changing your name to
Let's see all
Teddy.
this.
Yeah, Lois has given you a reputation, Nick.
I think I'm well now. I think I'm now starting to realize why she always wants to go to North Carolina because it's mostly forest area there.
We'll be changing your name to Teddy.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
man, I've been living in. Oh man, I've been in Illinois for too long. Then.
Well, you're going to need some protective crystals then if you're going in the woods with Lois.
We'll be saying that, Annette. If she's watching, we'll be in trouble.
Jane around then. I don't know who Jane is.
You don't know who Jane is? That's Tarzan's other half.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, I never really watched any of the stuff with Tarzan, to be honest with you. That's why I didn't know who that is.
Who was the first Tarzan? Here's some more useless information.
Yeah, go on in.
A German swimmer called Johnny Weissmuller. He was the first Tarzan.
What? Maybe Scotland of its forests. What?
Well, yeah. Nothing surprises me. We had some good forests in Scotland.
Well, if you think about it too, I mean that's not just something that's going on in Scotland. I mean, that's happening like worldwide in other countries. Yeah. Like I think the most notorious of them all, unfortunately, is the Amazon rainforest. They're deforesting that area.
Yeah,
South America.
There was. Well, it's same in England. Yeah. England was 98% wooded in 1600s. We chopped them all down for Armada. And this is what pisses me off when people say, save the moors, save the moors. It was never moors originally. It was forests. You look at the tale of Robin Hood. He rode from Sherwood Forest down to London and all the way to Pontefract through Sherwood Forest.
Yeah, it was all wooded area at that time. Yeah.
Well, exactly, which is 98% of England when you work out that area. Yeah, but he rode on horseback all the way from Sherwood Forest to Pontefract Abbey.
That's a lot of trees to lick, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But geography, that's the word, isn't it? Geography. I'm going to say topography. It's not topography, it's geography. But there you go. I digress. Hey, look at that. We've done a full show.
We have.
Yeah, we did.
We've gone over time. And we didn't stray too far.
Is there any more questions before we go? Would anyone like to ask any questions?
I don't, but obviously I do have to go on myself though, because I actually got a few people coming over because I got an important meeting to be a part of. So
wouldn't be that woods, would it?
Yeah.
What's the way? What? No, not. It's not out in the woods. It's nothing like that.
Conservation meeting.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, spot on there, and
the planet and lecturing everyone else about saving it.
Yeah. I want to know what agenda is with these e-vehicles. They are damn sight more dangerous, and the raping planet for cadmium for batteries on them. They are no way on earth green. So why are we having these electric vehicles shoved down our throats? We can think of only one thing: they are controllable. Yeah. Switch the electric off, and we are grounded.
The scrap yards are refusing to take them, aren't they? Because if they've been in an accident, they have to put them in a skip full of water to make them
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Well,
So
they're not
how is a
safe. But, yeah.
scrapyard going to do that?
Yeah. Well, exactly. But for me, the biggest thing about it, like I've said, the reason why I think they're shoving them as much as they are is, again, because it's control. You switch the electric off and you cannot go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So you can always make petrol. You can't make a battery. It's industry controlled.
The interesting thing is there's two companies that are making petrol alternatives. One's being tested on Formula One cars and it's doing very well. But at the moment, big liter. But it does the job without adjustment.
Well,
And
you can make it.
there's zero carbon output. So, and then there's also a company in Scotland, a distillery, that are trying to manufacture a cheap alcohol that will run on petrol as well, run on petrol cars as well.
Yeah.
So there's two, and they both come out with zero emissions. So
if you look down, you'd have to scroll quite some way down my page, my personal timeline. But if you look down it, I had it removed twice. And it's fact. It's actual fact. But they removed it twice because powers that be don't want it known. And that is hydrogen.
Yeah.
So water.
Yeah.
Driving a car with water. What's better than that? There is no emissions whatsoever apart from water.
Yeah.
And the way that they can make engines these days, you could literally drink the water coming out at exhaust pipe. And Clarkson did it on one of his programs. He says, why is this technology not available to everybody?
Because it's not going to make enough money.
Well, exactly. You could fill it up from tap.
And the other thing with electric cars is I don't know so much in America, but especially over here in Europe, where we have multi-level car parks.
The
weight of electric cars.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Well, we've gone down a few rabbit holes again.
We have.
There's an alternative. It's called hemp oil. It grows very quickly and it's totally clean. Yeah, when an electric car dies, you have to buy a new car. It's right.
Yeah. And what they don't tell you is, right, if your batteries go in an electric car, it's about $6,000 to replace them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that. That's about that.
It's cheaper to buy an engine.
Yeah.
And it's all because of one component, and that's cadmium and cobalt. Sorry, two. Cadmium and cobalt. Without them, batteries would be cheap.
Yeah.
And you can make alternative, and we've got them. You can buy them, dirt cheap batteries that haven't got those in them. So why do we need to keep mining for it? I don't get it. I get it.
I wish I knew the answer for it.
I wish I did. Well, we keep coming up with these answers in our podcasts, but nobody listens. Good job, really, isn't it?
They will one day in the far future, they'll be going, these guys.
These guys had the answer. All them years ago. Right, I think that's about it from me anyway.
It is,
yeah. It's pretty much about me. I can't really think of anything else to bring up, but like I said, I do have to get going because these guys are supposed to be here in about 15 minutes, so I would like to have a few minutes in between, some time to spare before they show up.
No worries.
So
okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week.
Do we have any ideas of what we're going to talk about for next week yet, or?
So we'll come up with something.
We'll come up with it. It could be herbs.
or better yet, maybe talking more about licking trees or looking at animal backs.
Psychotropic.
Yeah, that's going to be Nick's show. Nick, that's going to be the Nick Files. Animal lickings.
Cat.
We'll say no more about that.
Tree lickings too. Don't forget the tree lickings.
Is that related to Hannibal Lecter?
That's animal lecter.
Hannibal Lecter, right? Got it.
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter.
So we'll see everyone next week then. We'll arrange a topic during the week, and I'm not sure if we got a guest because Lois has still got the diary, but there you go.
Yeah.
I will find out from her, and then if not, we will decide on a topic for next week.
Yeah.
Or we can always invite somebody. It's a week away, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Well, also maybe we'll even try to make it Halloween related since it's also the last Friday before Halloween. So you never know. I guess we'll come up with something.
We will.
Yeah, we will. And it's not licking pumpkins, Nick. All right.
No cutting holes in them either.
That's abuse. Pumpkin abuse.
Yeah. I was going to say this quickly just before we go. I would just, if we were talking about that, I could just see at the end of the video, like at the end of that show, saying, no pumpkins were licked at during the making of this video.
Yeah. Well, not in Brian my house anyway.
It's good night from me.
It's night for me, and you're in control, Nick, so you've got to switch the button. Catch everyone next week.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.